So we're here in the wake of the US Open win for JJ Spaun. We're in a different surrounding today for those of you that watch us regularly. We're in the new platform golf bays, Precision Golf, in our upstairs studio. So a little bit of a different surrounding with the movable surfaces here. Very, very cool addition to the studio. But we're going to have a run through, this isn't obviously exactly JJ Spaun's bag, but the clubs that he plays, a little bit about them, but literally fill you in on what he used to win the US Open. So we're going to start up the top of the bag with the driver. Obviously a really, really key piece of kit last week at the US Open. That thick rough, firm fairways before the rain at the weekend. Hitting in the fairway is massively important. And JJ did a great job with his GT3, into a Titleist GT3 driver, 9 degree with Ventus Velocore Plus black 6X shaft. So Titleist head's really good for ball speed consistency. See JJ sponsored by Srixon, which we'll see into the kind of irons and the wedge part of his bag, but is using different woods. GT3 has been very good for kind of moderate launch. It keeps some of the mass at the front of the head, and for myself as well as a lot of other players, that helps keep the spin down a little bit, but also helps regulate the face. Some of the other heads that have a lot of weight at the back can start to get the face working open in the downswing, and it can be hard to regulate depending on your action. So if you have a little bit of rotation, weight back can be a little bit off-putting from a face stability point of view. But the GT3, really good for ball speed, sort of split mass, some at the front, some at the back. That helps keep launch down, spin down, but gives a little bit of stability. And that movable track at the front, just to move the mass heel and toe. From what I understand, he has it in the A1 setting, so fairly neutral, and so classic head shape, kind of mid to low spin, mid to low launch, very good ball speed. Ventus Velocore 6 Black X. Black series designed around tip stability. The Velocore Plus, slight update on the first gen, a little bit smoother feeling, and actually swings a little bit less head heavy. But this has been a shaft that's been used by a lot of the tour pros, and that Black series just to keep that spin down, keep the ball flight going forwards for him, use that to great effect. Then we move into the fairways. So here we're in QI10 3-wood and 5-wood. We've just got the 3-wood head in store at the moment that we use for some of our old reviews. QI10 was very, very popular. A lot of the players have stayed in it and haven't switched across. There's a little bit of a difference. The adjustability on the hosel for us in studio on the QI35 has been a good addition, but the clean lines of the fixed hosel a lot of the tour pros like. QI10, very good for ball speed again, moderate spin but good launch. But certainly for around somewhere like a US Open venue, in play off the tee, and they were hitting to long par 5s in 2. So very good fairway wood, and the 5-wood in this as well. Shaft wise, it's an old Diamana series, so a Mitsubishi shaft, the Diamana, the PD 70X in the 3-wood, 80X in the 5-wood, so ramps the weight up a little bit, but the PD is the whiteboard profile, so tip stiff, lower launching, lower spinning. Again, a bit like the Velocore Plus in the black, doesn't swing overly tip heavy, but a very stable shaft all the same, and got that in the 3-wood and the 5-wood. So then moving into the irons, there's a bit of a split set going on, and it is exactly this. He starts at 4-iron, but with the ZXi5. Now, ZXi5 has a little bit, as you can see, a bit of a wider sole to the ZXi7, which he then moves into from 5-iron to pitch wedge. So reason being for this is there's a bit more tech in the ZXi5, more tungsten at the bottom of the head, a little bit more forgiveness, but using the face a little bit more. So they marriage in a slightly faster face, which helps, one, for a bit of ball speed, but it lightens the face, puts more weight at the bottom, helps with flight. So in order to bridge up to the 5-wood, it's a slightly stronger hitting 4-iron, more forgiving, and particularly a kind of club using an awful lot around a wet US Open venue that plays long. But as a longer iron, gaining a bit of ball speed performance to help distance progression and a little bit of height. Whereas then going into the ZXi7s in the mid part of the bag, slightly narrower sole. Srixon, very well known for their V-sole design, where there's a progression, a graduation in the sole shape, which helps turf interaction and essentially that back edge progression speed through the turf. But a little bit of tungsten in the toe on the 5 and the 6-iron, but it goes into more of a single piece forged construction, slightly softer feel. The mass sits a little bit higher up the back of the head, helps flight control, but really where he's not looking for as much ball speed progression, just control of distance, control of spin. We're into that in the 6-through pitch. And then shaft wise, with all the way through the set, we've got the dynamic gold tour issue in the X100s, so fairly heavy shaft, 134 odd grams, stable design, but obviously weight really suits him. He can use that to control the flight and control the spin, and he's got that all the way through from 4 to pitch wedge. So moving on into the wedges, and they're being Srixon branded, they're Cleveland wedges, but they're actually, 2 of them are actually last year's model, the RTX6. So we only have the RTZs in store now, or RTZs, but he goes a 50 mid in the RTX6, then into the RTZ Tour rack in the 54 full, and then into a 60 low back in the RTX6. So progression in bounce, so there's a little bit more in the middle wedge, and then a tighter bounce on the highest loft for kind of get out of jail shots around the greens. That allows him to really kind of set it tight against the turf and nip underneath the ball, but then having a stronger bounce in that middle wedge for when it's softer or kind of longer bunker shots. A lot of the tour pros in the States use a full grind, whether it's a Vokey or into the Clevelands in that middle wedge, that sand wedge, for more square-faced shots rather than open-faced, but also where there's a little bit softer turf that just gives a bit more protection against going deep. And then shaft-wise, get into the Tour issue S400s all the way through the wedges. So the same kind of series, the Tour issue dynamic golds as the irons, but just going that little bit softer, the S400 versus the X1. But the S4s are that little bit heavier because they're the higher weight tolerance. So still gaining a fraction of weight, but gaining a bit of feel into the wedges as well, something which most of the tour pros prefer. So now onto the putter. Now the putter got a lot of focus because there was a rather nice putt hold on the last to win. Only needed 2, took the 1. Quality. But the Direct Force 3, the L.A.B putter, zero torque design, slightly smaller version of the original model that they launched. Very, very distinctive in terms of shape with plenty of weight at the back, and then the zero torque design to kind of take any influence of the gearing of the weight of the head out around the shaft. Used it brilliantly through the tournament, and as I say, absolute standout putt on the last kind of, it's what we all dream of. Hold a massive putt in the last, great celebration to win a major, fantastic use of it, and the first ever major one with a L.A.B putter. Well done, JJ. Now onto the ball. So Srixon, rubber company, brilliant ball designs. And JJ's using the Z-Star Diamond. Now this was a ball originally designed for Brooks Koepka. It's low spin with the driver, but it's actually quite a high spin with the irons. So quite an interesting design in that normally one's high launch with one, it's high launch and spin with the other. But they managed to get quite a high spin rate proportionately in the irons, so still sits right up there. If you're linking it to something like a Titleist brand, it sits right up with the Pro V1X, maybe slightly more spin, but actually then moderates that spin rate down with the driver. So if you're not looking to gain spin with the driver but want spin with the irons, brilliant golf ball. And again, used it to great effect. Spin control, flight control. The only thing he got unlucky with was hitting a pin on the last, which spun it off the green and went back 40 yards, but he then got up and down from that space as well. So rolled it beautifully on the last, drove it beautifully, great iron play, but the ball really did a great job for him around Oakmont this year. So as you can see from JJ's bag, it's a bit of a mixed set. You've got Titleist in the driver, TaylorMade Fairway, Srixon irons, Cleveland wedges, although that's one company, and a L.A.B putter. So when you're looking at your own bag, make sure you use what works. It's what the best players in the world are doing, and he did it to rather good effect last week at Oakmont. So if you like the content and like the insights into the bags, check out some of the other videos, like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video soon.